Did you know the first black heavyweight boxing champion lived a life so wild it shook America to its core and even changed U.S. laws? Stay with us as we uncover the untold story of Jack Johnson, the man who fought his way from poverty to global fame, defied every expectation, and left behind a legacy that still echoes today. We're going deeper than ever before into his rise to glory, the struggles he faced, the wealth and fame he earned, the romances that shocked the world, and the controversies that made him a lightning rod of his era. Stay with us until the very end, because you won't believe the twists, victories, and scandals that made Jack Johnson not only a sports legend, but a global icon. Like, share, and subscribe so you never miss these powerful untold stories. Jack Johnson was born on March 31st, 1878, in Galveston, Texas, the son of Henry and Tiny Johnson, who had been enslaved before the Civil War. He grew up in a world where the promise of freedom was real but limited. His parents worked hard, his father as a janitor and his mother as a domestic worker, barely making enough to keep food on the table. Life in Galveston was hard, especially for black families living under segregation and discrimination. Young Jack wasn't the kind of child to blend into the background. He was curious about everything: machines, animals, music. And above all, he loved to fight. Not out of anger, but out of a spirit of challenge. He once said, "I never believed in backing up. I always believed in fighting to the end." That attitude would carry him from the dusty streets of Galveston to arenas packed with thousands of roaring fans. As a teenager, Jack worked odd jobs: dock worker, carriage driver, even janitor. But he was always drawn to the energy of boxing matches. At the time, prize fighting was barely legal in many places, often held in smoky back rooms or out-of-the-way barns. Jack started sparring in local clubs, quickly realizing he had not just strength, but something rare: speed, reflexes, and a natural ability to read his opponents like an open book. By his late teens, he was fighting regularly, sometimes for pennies, sometimes for nothing at all but the chance to prove himself. He watched other fighters closely, learning their tricks, studying their footwork, their timing, their psychology. Boxing wasn't just a physical game to him. It was mental, emotional, even spiritual. He believed if you could control your opponent's mind, you could control the fight. By the late 1890s, Jack Johnson was building a reputation across Texas. He wasn't the biggest fighter, but he was clever and calm under pressure. Fans noticed his unique style. He didn't just charge in swinging like so many others. He moved with grace, dodged punches with a smile on his face, and hit back with devastating precision. It was beautiful to watch and infuriating to opponents who couldn't lay a glove on him. But there was a ceiling, a racial one. Boxing's top prize, the heavyweight championship of the world, was guarded fiercely by what was known as the color line. White champions and promoters refused to let black fighters compete for the title. It wasn't written in the rules, but it was enforced all the same. Jack kept winning anyway. He fought anyone who would get in the ring with him: black fighters, white fighters, brawlers, boxers, veterans, newcomers. Each victory made him harder to ignore. Reporters started calling him cocky because he smiled during fights, joked with the crowd, even taunted opponents. But fans loved it. He was bringing style to a brutal sport. Finally, in December 1908, after years of being denied a chance, Jack Johnson got his shot. The reigning champion, Tommy Burns of Canada, agreed to fight him in Sydney, Australia. Thousands packed the stadium under the blazing sun. Round after round, Jack dominated. He was bigger, stronger, faster. Burns went down again and again until finally the police stepped in to stop the beating. Jack Johnson had made history as the first black heavyweight boxing champion of the world. Back in America, the reaction was explosive. Some celebrated him as a hero. Others were furious that a black man now held the most prestigious title in sports. Newspapers across the country began demanding a great white hope, a white fighter to defeat Johnson and restore what they saw as the proper racial order. The most famous of these hopes was James J. Jeffries, a former champion who had retired undefeated. For years he refused to fight Johnson, but the public pressure grew until finally, in 1910, Jeffries agreed. The fight was hyped as the Battle of the Century on July 4th, 1910, in Reno, Nevada. 20,000 fans packed the arena. Millions more followed through newspapers and telegraphs. Jeffries was billed as the savior of the white race. Johnson was calm, smiling, confident as ever. From the opening bell, it was clear Jeffries was no match. Johnson toyed with him, landing sharp punches, avoiding blows with ease. In the 15th round, Jeffries went down. The undefeated White Hope had been defeated. The aftermath was chaos. Across the United States, white mobs rioted. At least 20 people were killed, hundreds injured, all because a black man had proven himself the best fighter in the world. Jack Johnson didn't apologize for his success, his wealth, or his relationships with white women, which were considered scandalous at the time. He drove flashy cars, wore custom suits, owned nightclubs and restaurants. He traveled the world, living openly and extravagantly, defying every stereotype America tried to place on him. But that defiance made him enemies in powerful places. In 1913, federal authorities charged him under the Mann Act, accusing him of transporting a woman across state lines for immoral purposes. Many believed it was a politically motivated case meant to punish him for his success and his refusal to conform to racial norms. Rather than face prison, Jack fled the country. For 7 years, he lived in exile, fighting in Europe, South America, Mexico, anywhere promoters would pay him. Crowds still came. He was still the champion in the eyes of many, even after losing his title in Havana in 1915 to Jess Willard. Eventually, Jack returned to the United States and served a brief prison sentence. After boxing, he stayed in the public eye, appearing in films, running businesses, giving lectures. He loved fast cars, music, invention. He even patented a wrench designed for working on automobiles. Jack Johnson was never just a fighter. He was an entertainer, an innovator, a man ahead of his time. He died in 1946 in a car accident at the age of 68. Decades later, his story continued to inspire books, plays, documentaries, and calls for justice. In 2018, after years of lobbying by historians and boxing champions, President Donald Trump granted him a full posthumous pardon, clearing his name over a century after his conviction. Jack Johnson's life was bigger than boxing. He was the first black man to become a global sports superstar, a symbol of pride and defiance in an era of crushing racism. He paved the way for Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, and every black athlete who followed. From the son of former slaves to the heavyweight champion of the world, Jack Johnson lived with courage, controversy, and style. He refused to bow to a society determined to limit him. His story is one of victory, struggle, and the unbreakable will to be free. If Jack Johnson's story inspired you, hit that like button, share this video with a friend, and subscribe for more untold stories of legends who changed the world.